Eguerdion guztioi, thanks a lot for those of you who remained with us until the very end of this 2 days, 1.5 days conference. It's been a pleasure to share it with you and to hear all your contributions. And we really are really grateful for your efforts. And we just wanted to say a couple of words to have a closure of our conference. And when we were planning this conference, we were thinking about the idea of the new narrative for a new Europe. And this idea departs not only from a contingent situation of crisis in which we've been since like 5 years, but also from a myriad of global challenges that the European Union, as well as maybe any state of Europe, should address, and that have risen most of all in the last decade, which are, well, we can think of climate change, of financial crisis, of global terrorism, and all those. So one of the distinctive features of these global challenges is that they cannot be properly tackled or even faced solely from states unilaterally. And this urge us to cooperate, to raise consensus and to have a collective action, which is one of the big challenges and one of the biggest challenges of Europe, to have a common voice for these global challenges. So going back to the foundational values of Europe, and the foundational motives that brought the Europe states together, and still is bringing more states since the Croatia as a new member state recently this year. We know that those values were mainly to reach peace after the Second World War, and also to have a common market. A common market which is not only good because all that it generates, but also because of additional reasons. The three main axes that we were thinking about when we were planning this were the justification of Europe. So why do we need Europe? And what are the principles that are going to govern Europe? What principles of fairness, if any, are we going to apply and are we going to implement in Europe through a state consensus? What is the aim of Europe? So what's the purpose of our union? What do we need it for? And how are we going to achieve those meanings? How are we going to achieve those goals? And so, as it had mentioned, this contingent situation of the former Europe that we had need for a revision. These values of peace and this common market in which we enter need a revision in light of an alive union. And we think that, and as we've mentioned along these years, this new narrative should provide new principles, new commitment, and a discourse for a new discourse, which is the main challenge, even if it seems really theoretical, for a fairer Europe. But what's a fairer Europe? And what means for Europe to be fair? So, during these days, we have heard proposals of procedure justice, such as democracy beyond borders and a multi-level democracy, an increase of integration through fiscal policies and rights, both social and political rights, solidarity and the challenge of solidarity versus the utilitarian calculation, the trade-off that we individually may do, and which prevent us sometimes from engaging in solidarity actions. But to resume, what do we want Europe for? And as it's been mentioned during our conference, Europe should govern its interdependencies, whatever interdependencies means, because we need Yeah, we need a definition, a straight definition if possible. We need to govern Europe's externalities and manage the disagreement generated both by Europe's European plurality, both political, culturally political and social plurality, and European multiculturalism. And of course, what's Europe for? The straightforward answer, I think we may agree, is that we need Europe to improve its citizens, European citizens' welfare. And I pass the word to Ander.
Considering these underlying principles that Cristina, and values that Cristina has been mentioning and going through, and also as well the aimed goals that actually are these principles and values trying to guide Europe to reach, we may think about the last and the third question that we tried to address on this international conference during the last couple of days, which will be how will we manage, or how will we reach, and how will we manage to reach those goals. All through the panels, there have been several proposals in a period in which, as Professor Inerarity many times states, it seems that we are heading an inevitable path, a historical linearity in which politics have so little to do or to say. The lecturers have clearly stated that there is a huge variety of proposals, both on the level of general arrangement of the Union and also on the way we may address it. Europe as a platform has been mentioned, a union of states, reinforcing trust through a fairer institutional arrangement, revisionist approach on the constitution of better conceptual tools, and also particular proposals that can go from new electoral solutions to the definition of the core constitutional principles that may underlie the better or the further European Union. All these aspects have shown two very distinct issues, which might be that we definitely need to rigorously discuss, and from a multidisciplinary perspective, a new European narrative, as there are many strong proposals for solidly grounding it, but also that it is not clear, self-evident at least, which should it specifically be. This new narrative, although this may end being ultimately the narrative itself, that there is not a clear narrative. What certainly we know is that the debate during the last couple of days has pointed on the good direction, and what we hope is that the book, which will be published late 2016, this was a spam, will contribute to the deliberation. So to close up, it's a moment of the thanks, as all this event couldn't have been possible without several actors that have been involved. First of all, the lecturers, thanks for your contributions, for being so proactive on the question and answer moments, and also for posing so original and innovative proposals that might certainly help to build up this new narrative. Thanks for the audience, those that are here live, and also for those that have been following the event through the streaming, both at the Pompeu Fabra University's webpage, Basque Countries University's webpage, and of course the Institute of Democratic Governance webpage. Also, thanks to the institutional support from the Eusko Jaurlaritza Basque government, the the Council of Biscay and the city of Bilbao, because if we didn't have their support, this event could definitely not have been possible. Also, thanks to Professor White and Professor Inerarity for giving us and all of us the chance of making this possible for the second time already, and we are preparing already the third time, so we are not definitely stopping. Thanks for Equinoccio Viajes and all their great, wonderful support from the translators, from the assistants, and particularly to Mauro and Gemma for their very strict but at the same time effective help on organizing all this. Specifically, I will also want to address Miquel Cabello for his technical support and for his personal support all the last 6 months organizing the event. Mila esker, Miquel. And finally, thanks to Daniel, now not to Professor Linerarity, but to Daniel as an individual, as a great person, for being such an excellent amphitryon to all of us. Eskerrik asko, mila esker, thanks.